And we are already getting some great questions here coming in for Betsey Mayotte with freestudentloanadvice.org. One of the questions I think is really interesting. It says, my grandson will graduate next year. Does he qualify for loan forgiveness?
Maybe. This broad forgiveness applies to loans that were dispersed or to the school on or after June 30th of 2022. So if he has loans from before that, they potentially qualify. With that said, however, the income criteria for him, assuming that he's considered a dependent by the school, is actually going to be based on his parents' income rather than his.
But for future students, there's no plans for them to give them like $10,000 towards college.
No, no. And I just want to say, nobody should be borrowing now anticipating forgiveness in the future. This was a one-time scenario where the stars aligned in just the way they needed to align. I don't ever expect to see something like this again.
Is the loan forgiveness just for primary borrowers or for co-borrowers too?
Most federal student loans don't have co-borrowers. There is a very small population of people that were able to consolidate their loans as a married couple back before 2006. Some of those will be eligible, but most federal student loans don't, other than that, don't have co-borrowers.
The cute cat wants to help answer questions too.
Yeah, that's Alice, the student loan cat. She can't stay away from a TV camera.
Well, I'll ask Alice and you both this. Do you have to pay taxes on the amount of loan that's forgiven?
Oh, that's a great question. There are some states that are going to tax the forgiveness. There are other states that, as of right now, they'll tax it, but they're looking to change that. It will not be taxed on the federal level, and my understanding is that there will not be a 1099 going out. So if your state is one that's going to tax it, and you're pursuing another forgiveness program, such as public service loan forgiveness, for example, you may want to opt out of this.
Let's talk about public service loan forgiveness. That is a different program, correct?
Separate and distinct and unrelated.
What do we need to know about that? What are the highlights of that program?
Well, that program's been around since 2007, and essentially what it does is, again, this is federal student loans, and if you're working full-time for a government employer, and that can be any government employer, federal, state, local, tribal, any 501c3 nonprofit, or there's also some other nonprofits that qualify. If you work for them for 10 years while making payments, the government's going to forgive the balance of your loan. There's actually a temporary waiver in place that ends on October 31st that actually expands the eligibility for this a little bit for people that maybe didn't have the right type of loan or weren't on the right payment plan. You can find out more about that either on our website, freestudentloanadvice.org, or on the Department of Education's website, which is studentaid.gov.
Someone wants to know, my student loans were garnished and I had not been paying for 10 years. Am I still eligible for forgiveness?
Defaulted loans are eligible for the broad debt relief that was announced in August. They are potentially still eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Unfortunately, periods while you were in default don't count, even under the temporary waiver, towards PSLF. Now, I will tell you this. There is another program called Fresh Start that will allow you to get out of default pretty quickly, and it'll also help repair your credit. You can contact the current collection agency to find out more about that Fresh Start program.
And I want to give people at home a chance to get pens and paper or your phone ready, because in a second, I'm going to ask you to say the website again. You have such great information on there. We're all having trouble figuring all this out. So where can people go for that resource?
So to access information or to ask questions to my organization, which is the Institute of Student Loan Advisors, or TISLA, you could go to freestudentloanadvice.org. And the Department of Education is another great resource for information about all the programs I've talked about, and their website is studentaid.gov.
And you can always call your loan servicer too, correct?
Absolutely. I will say, and I am by no means discouraging people from calling their loan servicers. They should. But be aware that because of this debt relief and because of the various waivers that I've mentioned in the past few minutes, the call volume at all the servicers is very, very high. So be prepared. have your cup of coffee ready and your patience pants on when you go to make that phone call.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. We also have a whole lot of resources about loan forgiveness up on WFMYnews2.com. Check out that Who Wants to Know section.